Hey there. So I want to show you how you can generate a report that allows you to get the data needed for a student who has moved from one section of your class to another. In the past, this hasn't been as big an issue because grades were not being auto-calculated, so therefore teachers were still able to properly reflect student performance when it came to the next reporting period. But now, since grades are auto-calculated, you're going to want to make sure that the new section of the class for a student has all the assignments from the old section in it. So, there's a simple report that generates a PDF that has all the data you're going to need to make your life easy, or as easy as we can. So, I'm in PowerTeacher Pro. I'm going to use, this is the to be determined teacher, and it looks like there's still a co-teacher on the statistics course, so I'm just going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the course that I want to do this for, and I go to reports, and I want to choose the individual student report. Now we can do a bunch of different settings, but I say the first thing to do is go to the Students tab and choose the student that you want to run this report for. By default, it's going to run it for the whole class. If I say add remove students, I can then uncheck everybody and just choose one student that I want to run this for. Okay. If the student has already been dropped from your class, from the old section, you should be able to get them by checking this box here that says include dropped students. Okay. So once you've got the student selected, go back to the criteria and you want to set it up like this. The report title doesn't matter. Classes should be defaulting to the class that you are currently in. Select it up here. You don't need a custom class name. You don't need the kid's full schedule. Since you're only doing this for one kid in one class, you don't need to report by section. So you can leave that alone. Student last name, assignment. You can sort due date, oldest first or newest first. You can also have it sort by category if you prefer. But you don't really need to worry about that. I'll show you that the report has another nice category feature for you. So I'd say leave this as due date. The thing that you do want to click is this areas to include. So you definitely want to include, at the very minimum, let me uncheck these so you can see what we're talking about. At the very minimum, you're going to want course grades and attendance to come across, and you might want the comments, especially if you've already done report cards, in case you want to be able to see what the comments were. You're probably not going to take comments from one section and move it over to another section. And if you really don't care about the comments, you can turn that off. I'm going to leave it on so you can see what it looks like. Standards final grades. We definitely want the standards final grades to come across. We also want assignments to come across. We don't do comments on assignments, so you don't have to worry about that, but we do put standard scores on assignments, and so you want to make sure those standard scores come across. And then this is the neat feature that, just to show you, this is the category totals, which is a nice little feature. So once you've checked those, so basically everything, I'm selecting everything except the assignment comments. I don't need percentages. I do want to see assignments that have no data. I do want to see the identifier. And I want it to be M1 right now because that's the report card term that we're dealing with. If you did this, next week after we've closed grades, then you would want to choose, the L1 marking period. You don't need to do both because L1 will include all of M1. Any assignment, any scores, any category, any course grades. So like for example, if you have formative and you don't have formative calculating into your class average, you could say only export the projects, for example, and don't export the formative. But I'm going to leave it as any category. So once we've got our settings here done and we've got the student or students we want to run it for selected on the second tab, we just hit run report and you're going to get this little pop-up that says the report has been queued, which is kind of interesting. So how do you get to it? You can either get there by clicking view reports right down here at the bottom of the screen, or under reports there's a report queue menu item, and it will show all the reports. So this is a test that I did before I recorded the video to make sure everything was working. This is the one that I just did now. If I click the name, unfortunately it wants to download it first, and then once I click on it, it opens up, and you can see that I see The M1 report, right now the student has an A+ with 2 absences and 2 tardies. You can see that there's 1 learning target that they have a score on for the report card. These are final grades. And then you can see all the assignments broken down here. So with the due date, newest first, oldest at the bottom. And if there was a learning target attached, it's on the line below it. So on the Dear Data postcard, the student got a 4 on their learning target, and then the teacher put that in as an A+. I don't know why the percent's still showing even though I told it not to show the percent. That's kind of weird. But so this is the information primarily that you want to use to copy over to the new section, so you can set up all their assignments there so it's doing their auto calculations and all that fun stuff. The summary, the categories that I talked about, it's just interesting because it shows you for each category the total number of points the student earned, the total number of points that were possible, and then the grade that they got in that category. So you can see there were 2 projects with a 95 and a 95. That's 190 points out of 200. And then you can see on this one, 95 and 90. I don't know why it's saying the average is 95. Oh, because this one was just marked as collected, it looks like. And for some reason, that's not calculating in. But anyway, so this report you can run, and if you have multiple kids that moved in the same section, you can obviously generate the report for all of them at once. But I strongly recommend that you run this separately for each class. You could go in here and you could say to do multiple classes, but then your list of students is going to get really complicated and it's going to be really hard to kind of keep things straight. So I recommend just doing one section at a time if you're notified that a student is being rescheduled for you. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope this helps you. Please reach out if you have any questions.